Welcome to the DNA Talks podcast, where we take on the mission of unlocking the code of your genetics. This season is all about you, upgrading your health, not just on the surface, but down to the root cause. Join us as your clinicians at the DNA company investigate your DNA and beyond. The intention of this podcast is to enhance your lifestyle by changing what is in your control. This does not substitute the medical advice given by your personal doctor, therapist, and other healthcare professionals.
Carolyn, so great to be with you here at A4M 2023. It's always growing, expanding. You're with Beam,
Yes.
Beam Minerals, and I'm going to be picking your brain all about humic and fulvic acid in a moment. But I'd like to start off with your own personal story, your own journey as to how you are led or guided into this world, particularly plant-based humic and fulvic acid.
Yes. So my story is I was in the corporate world and I, was working 60, 70 hours a week, raising my kids, and I burned out of it. I was very ill. I had really bad gut problems. I had recurring sinus infections. I had inflammation in my mouth with receding gums. I had flatlined adrenals for 2 years. And then I was introduced to plant-based minerals. This is about 2010. And I started taking them. They were liquid. They were easy to take. And after 2 months, I went to my dentist. She looked at my mouth and she was like, "Oh my gosh, what's changed? The pH in your mouth has changed. The tissues look healthy and pink." Then 4 months in, I went to my naturopath. My adrenals were 1/3 of the way up the chart after being completely flatlined for 2 years. So I was really surprised. First of all, I was like, could it be the minerals making this difference? So I started doing studying, and I studied molecular biology and cellular biology and plant decomposition and mineral replenishment system in the body. And I had so many ahas that I realized that no one was really talking about minerals, and also people didn't understand how the mineral replenishment system works in the body,
Right.
so that they could effectively support every cell in the body.
Well, that's a really interesting story. And adrenal exhaustion, particularly age, gender dependent, is not all that uncommon. I think a lot of people are experiencing that and often don't even know it. And so I really appreciate that. Let's take viewers back a little bit, though, in sort of a historical sequence as it relates to minerals versus vitamins. For some reason that you'll explain, vitamins always somehow have taken precedence. Minerals take second stage. They're not as well appreciated. Why is that historically?
The bottom line is, do you know how much nutrition education is given to doctors? About 1 hour in their entire training.
Right.
So literally, it's simply because they don't know.
Sure.
So people historically had looked to doctors, and doctors mostly said, "Oh, nutrition has nothing to do with health. But maybe you should take a multivitamin because somebody said that," right? Dr. Spock, maybe, back when we were kids.
Yeah.
So vitamins became well known. And frankly, one of the things about vitamins is that people could feel a difference when they took some of the B vitamins, as an example.
Right. Very experiential, very almost immediately experiential.
Right. Whereas minerals, when people take minerals, most pills, powders, drinks, you don't notice any difference because they don't work.
I would say with the one exception, very commonly, iron. If
Yes.
somebody ultimately has anemia and you're taking the right kind of iron, of course, there's so many different types out there, you could probably pretty quickly as an anemic person feel very well after taking iron. Let's dive a little deeper, though, into mineral science as it pertains to humic and fulvic acid. We'll get into plant-based in a second because that's an important point of differentiation. What are these?
Yeah.
Why are they necessary besides the common A to Z varietal, zinc, iron, manganese, boron, strontium? Why fulvic and humic acid?
Yeah. To understand fulvic and humic and what they are and why they're so effective, you have to shift your entire paradigm in thinking about the body and thinking how minerals work in the body. So first of all, one of the ways that I like people to start kind of shifting their paradigm is if you think of your body, it's entirely made of cells. And in fact, if you took all of the water out of your body, it would be a little pile of minerals.
Nothing, right?
Everything, all structure in the world is made of minerals. Okay. So the problem is that we're eating foods that are depleted of minerals. If you eat an apple back when our grandfather lived, you'd have to eat 6 apples today to get the same amount of nutrition. And we're drinking bottled and filtered water. So our systems are very depleted of minerals. So if you think of your entire body as a system of cellular systems, and then you keep going smaller and you say, well, what fuels a cell? And you realize inside the cell are these things called mitochondria, these energy generating units. And what fuels a mitochondria? 2 things, amino acids and minerals. Now, your body makes a lot of amino acids. It makes no minerals. You have to ingest them all. So what happens with people is that when you're mineral depleted, it's literally like taking a light and turning down the dimmer. And in fact, modern scientists think that people who are not effectively supplementing minerals, most people are probably running at about 30 to 37%
Of their capacity.
of their capacity.
Their dimmer switch is way down.
Way down. So
makes sense.
So the humic and fulvic, what I like to describe them as Mother Nature's mineral replenishment technology. Okay? They are designed, and your body has been evolved from the earth as an earth-based set of organisms to utilize humic and fulvic, because if you think about historically, all cellular systems had to get minerals into the cells. Okay? That's the way the mitochondria was going to be powered. So there had to be a vehicle for getting minerals into the cells, and that was called fulvic. And fulvic comes from the decomposition of freshwater plants, only freshwater, so not seawater plants. It not only provides all the minerals that your body utilizes in the naturally formulated in the ratios that your body utilizes minerals, but it also provides the delivery system for the minerals into the cells. So the fulvic molecule is very, very small. It's much smaller than a cell, and it's a unique molecule. This is the only molecule that does these 2 things. First of all, any channel that opens in the cell wall, the fulvic gets a free pass through. Yeah. Now that alone is pretty amazing, because things that usually going through the cell wall require a certain receptor to get through. But the fulvic just gets a free pass through, carrying all its mineral content and nutritional content into the cell. And then it does what no other molecule on Earth can do. It changes its polarity. And those things drop off inside the cell. Now they're available to the mitochondria for energy generation. How cool is that?
That is super cool. And so obviously we have come to learn the mitochondria is developing at a rate of speed that's incomprehensible. The currency of energy we all know as ATP. So clearly that's a huge benefit. But tell us the difference between the fulvic acid you described and humic. Why do we need both?
So the fulvic is the intercellular transporter. It's called a flavonoid. People have heard that term, but that's what it is, intercellular transporter. So it carries those nutrients in, it drops them off inside the cell, and then it carries bio-waste and toxins out of the cell, and then it changes its polarity again, and those things drop off inside your bloodstream. Now, amazingly, its partner in health is called the humic molecule. A humic molecule is much different than the fulvic. It's also a very strong electrolyte. The way I like to describe it, because it's something people can remember, it's like a Velcro ball. Okay. It's extremely sticky on the outside. It's got a huge amount of receptor sites. It chelates with heavy metals. It binds with free radicals. It's thousands of times more effective as an antioxidant in your system than any superfood mix or these other antioxidants. It also does some things that are really cool, like gathers nanoplastics. It will gather graphene
so we need more of that these days, yeah.
It will also remediate the effects of glyphosate. So we're all dealing with glyphosate exposure from production farming and from all sorts of other uses of glyphosate. And glyphosate can have incredible gut dysbiosis effects. But the beautiful thing is humic molecule hangs out in the bloodstream, and it actually gathers it and then builds a biofilm around it and starts breaking the molecule down. At a certain point, this humic molecule gets so heavy at a molecular weight, it falls out of solution and it leaves the body through all the elimination channels. So I call it Mother Nature's janitor.
I love it. That's a heavy lifter. Those two in synergy do a lot. Before we get to the difference between, the standard fulvic and humic acids out there and what ultimately is plant-based, that's really how Beam, differentiates itself. Let's take a step back to this whole story, and maybe you can explain the underpinning of the demineralization that we are now clearly dealing with in our soils, in our plant food, because a lot of folks still have this misconception they can eat themselves to therapeutic range of minerals. But as you mentioned a moment ago, what was one apple a year or two, or rather a decade or two ago, maybe 5 apples today. Why? What's happened?
It's really simple to understand. But if you read about it, you'll have to read like big documents. But I like to really simplify it. Think of it this way. When a plant grows in the soil, how does it create the structure of the plant? It gathers minerals out of the soil. Even a huge redwood tree is made of the minerals that have been sucked out of the soil. So when you have soil and you're growing plants in it year after year after year, the soil literally gets depleted of the minerals. Now you can put humus and nitrates and things back in the soil, but getting the minerals back in, very, very difficult. This has been a problem since the 1930s. They had a special session of Congress saying, what are we going to do about our soils? They're dying. And what have they done since the 1930s? Nothing.
And I think we can add to that list, again, possibly a misconception by the majority of folks out there trying to eat healthy, organic foods. I mean, organic ultimately may mean a difference in how they're grown, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are packed with more minerals.
That's exactly right. So that's why I say to people, if you're eating organic, well, that's really good because you're lowering the amount of toxins that you're getting. So that's good, but it does not necessarily mean that the foods you're eating have more nutrition in them.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. At the DNA company, and we're proud to have our strategic alliance with Beam. This is part of the story that we're often telling as well, as you alluded to, how plants grow and evolve. They need minerals. Their infrastructure requires it in order to operate. Their DNA instruction manual requires that they use minerals, as does ours. So when we talk about wonderful, and you alluded to the function of mitochondria earlier in the ATP production, that's the currency of energy we'll need more of, that fulvic acid helps to manage, mitigate, and increase. That superoxide dismutase as one example of a very important gene that actually is manganese, which is an important mineral. That's tiny trace amounts, all we need. That this enzyme ultimately is structured, and it can't work without that very important trace mineral in order to protect our mitochondria. So we're always talking to folks about trace minerals and their level of importance. There's some SLC genes that are relevant to zinc, for example. Zinc is another underappreciated, very immune, helpful mineral. So minerals are underappreciated. But once again, this whole concept I find very intriguing around the difference between what a standard letter mineral is and what humic and fulvic acid is. Furthermore, I really appreciate how Beam is sourced.
Yes.
So at the DNA company, we fall, very much behind this whole idea that we need sustainability, we need safety, obviously, transparency, traceability, efficacy, we need efficiency to these ingredients, and of course, purity and potency. And somehow you guys have cracked the code and checked all those boxes, particularly as it relates to your sourcing, sustainable, vegetable or plant-based. Give folks an idea of what that means compared to a lot of other fulvic and humic acids out there.
Well, so first of all, let's just clarify. All fulvic and humic occurs from the decomposition of freshwater plants.
Right.
Now, the difference with Beam relative to other fulvic and humic acids is, first of all, our products are not acids.
Right.
We call them complexes because they are not, and again, fulvic and humic acids are great, but the only difference is that an acid molecule is larger. It has to be broken down first before it can be absorbed. The beautiful thing about the complexes in our products is they're completely ionic. They're already broken down to their chemical components ready for absorption, which means you do not have to digest them at all. Any tissue that they touch, they begin absorbing.
That was the free pass into the cell that you were describing earlier. How about dosing to get all these benefits? What do people have to do? How much do they need? How easy is it to take?
Yeah. So first of all, we never use the word dosing with particularly trace minerals, because when we talk about dosing, we're talking about usually things that are measured in milligrams. So,
Right.
and you're worrying about dosing because you don't want to get too much of something, right? The beautiful thing about plant-based humic and fulvic substances is that they're formulated in the exact ratios that your body is made of and utilizes minerals. So there's small amounts of manganese or molybdenum, but there's large amounts of the macro minerals like magnesium, potassium, et cetera, that we use a lot of.
Right.
So when you put more in, you don't actually throw your body into imbalance. So that's one of the key components. So because our products are complexes and they're not acids, they just require no digestion. The other thing is humic and fulvic acids, they're acids because they've been extracted using hydrochloric acid.
Okay.
Not a bad thing, but it makes them terrible tasting. So the beautiful thing about our products is they taste like water, making them very, very easy to consume on a daily basis. You can put them in your water. You can put them in your coffee. They can be, you don't want to boil them, but they can be heated or cooled or frozen, anything you want.
Integration is key, right? Into your shake,
Mm-hmm.
into your coffee. And also, it's something that ultimately is part of a daily process, that most people identify as addition to. How can you make that easy for them? Conceivably adding yet another. Most people have pill fatigue. So what I'm getting at is this simplicity of integration. And as you just described, pretty heat resistant or at least stable. Are we just doing that? Adding it to coffee, adding it to tea, taking a shot?
You can take it as a shot.
Yeah.
So our bottles are these 32-ounce bottles. They have a lid. You just take half a capful every day of each.
Yeah.
The thing about it is most people have what I call the supplement graveyard at home. And it's the cupboard filled with pills and powders and different things that they took, right? We all have it. And there are things that you took and you didn't notice a difference. And you're like, I don't want to keep taking, I'm not going to keep taking that. But the beautiful thing about these liquids is they're so easy to incorporate into your daily routine. I literally will never stop taking them.
Yeah. I also, swung by your booth as we're here at the A4M, and I saw you spraying the back of a passerby's neck.
Yes.
Why are we adding this topically?
Yes. So remember how small the fulvic molecule is.
Sure.
It's much smaller than a cell. It will absorb directly through the derma into the muscle in 3 seconds. So for people who have cramping, works for menstrual cramps, works for neck, tension, headaches, any sore or aching muscle, you just spray it on, because what is a cramping or sore or aching muscle? It's a muscle that's depleted of minerals.
Right. That's the first sign the body gives you. For example, magnesium, an eye twitch, or potassium, or a cramp in your calf. That's really cool. Any other future plans that Beam has for new delivery systems, products?
We have so many, but I don't know.
What's up next?
I don't know if I can tell them here because I think they're still secret.
I got it.
We have some amazing things coming down the pike, and we're really excited about them.
That's very cool. Well, thank you for all that you're doing at Beam. I really hold what this product is in high regard. Again, minerals are underappreciated. Delivery systems for those minerals are yet further not necessarily understood. And again, I think I'd like to leave off on the idea that most people feel safe by eating healthy, and I would encourage folks to reconsider that notion that you can't eat yourself to therapeutic ranges, in particular with some of these trace minerals, because of soil depletion and over farming. So thank you for all you do, and it's really great to be in alignment with Beam, Caroline.
And thank you
wish you well.
Thank you for what you do, because you guys have helped me greatly as well.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Great. Have a great show.
Thank you.